Good afternoon, everybody. Going to give you an update here from some happenings in Portland, Oregon. I was not in court today. Give everybody a few minutes here to come on. I'm sorry I'm late. I've been traveling here. I was not in court yesterday. I was in court yesterday till later in the evening there, and I took off and I went on a little trip here. Wait till some people kind of come on. How you doing there? Hi, Nancy. I was not in court today. There was others in court, and I'm running late on giving everybody an update. I ran home to have a short visit. I've got my daughter here with me in the car. Gave her a surprise. Say hi.
Hi.
My daughter Katura. This is my oldest daughter. She's bashful. But so I wasn't in court today, but I have got a few updates that people that were there. I decided to take a quick trip home and do some other things here. But yesterday in court, before I left, we just had pretty much the FBI agents that were testifying one after the other, and both of them were just talking briefly about Facebook posts and different things of warrants they had served to get Facebook posts. They kept bringing up different situations on Lavoy Finicum, bringing that into it, a few things on informants, and I did not get to see the ammunition that they brought in. And I heard today that mostly it was a lot of ammunition evidence, some gun evidence, and things like that. A couple people told me it really wasn't a lot that happened and pretty boring. We know right now that Blaine Cooper did not testify as of yet, possibly Monday. We know that that Ammon Bundy for sure has left Nevada, and he's on his way to Portland and probably already there. And he should be testifying possibly on Tuesday. I'll be back in court there on Tuesday for sure. I won't be there Monday, but I'll be back there Tuesday to give you more updates. And if I have any updates on Monday, I'll try to get you what I know. But Tuesday through Thursday of next week, I'll be in court and giving you some more updates. Other than that, I don't have a lot for you. I know that Kelli Stewart made a post earlier, and if you get a chance, go watch hers. She was there in court, and I think she's still in court right now until they close this afternoon. Again, I made a surprise visit to my daughter. This is my oldest daughter, Katura, and came over and visited her. I'm going to try to get her to start helping me with these live streams. You going to start helping me?
Probably.
She's quiet.
No, I'm not.
So, but we're at the airport right now, and I just wanted to give everybody a quick update and tell them what I did know, and appreciate everybody's support and everybody watching. And won't have any more updates until probably Tuesday at this time. So God bless, and everybody have a good weekend.
Yeah, I might be in a bad spot. I'm gonna do a quick reporting from the day so that I can clear my head of it. Here with JRyan.
What up?
Holding his pocket constitution.
Oh yeah.
That's how we roll. Okay. So, let's see. I guess I could invite people. Maureen, Lindsay, Deb, John, Gavin, all my people. Invite. Okay, I'm just inviting a few people here. Okay. All right. So I'm going to try to dump my thoughts on the day to go home and get rid of all my notes. So I did post, or I will post Becky Wald's notes. There we go. From the day. Hey guys, Becky, I'm going to get your notes posted as soon as I finish this. So what I wanted to do is go over what happened at lunchtime. I think this was really important, what happened at lunchtime, because it was regarding the OPB situation here. I'm gonna have to make Jake hold my phone. Let's see. I'm so not set up to be a reporter. Okay. The reason that what happened at lunchtime with OPB is important is because it did show that the government, or that the judge was willing to protect the rights of the press, even at the expense of forfeiting the rights of the people. So I'm going to turn this down so I can think. So Gabriel isn't here for this trial, just Ethan Knight and Barrows, which is really nice, because Gabriel was quite obnoxious. But Judge Brown is still there, so I'm not sure that we really have a win in this. Okay, so during lunch they brought in, I really didn't understand what was going on with the whole issue with OPB. So the first trial, one of the main reasons Ryan Bundy did not take the stand is because there was an interview he did with OPB where he made some statements that they were trying to take and say that the statements mean that he intentionally conspired to impede officers from doing their job. Now, in the statement that he made, and correct me if I'm wrong, do you remember, Jake, hearing the whole statement that they read, that they want to present? There was something in the statement, where he says something along the lines of the employees basically are not going to be able to come back to work. And so he did not want to take the stand, because as soon as he took the stand, hey guys, they would be able to then present this OPB interview and use it against him. So this interview that was being debated on today was the entire reason Ryan Bundy did not take the stand this last time around. Otherwise, he would have been great on there. So the government now is taking that very interview and they're introducing it as evidence. Why are they allowed to enter it as evidence? I don't know, because Ryan Bundy has been found not guilty. So why does his statements to OPB even matter? Totally lost my train of thought. The reason that they want to introduce them is to show that he intended to impede officers from doing their jobs. The judge all week has been calling him a co-conspirator, an alleged co-conspirator. Why is she allowed to do that when he's not a co-conspirator? He was found not guilty of being a conspirator. So why his statements matter, I don't know. So we basically had 4 positions today during lunch. We had the judge's position of listening to all the case, and she's bought and paid for by the federal government. So why we think she's not going to be biased, I don't know. And side note, her husband or wife, whichever one she has, I don't know, is a police officer. Did anybody on here know that? Did you know that before today?
The judge?
The Judge Brown's significant other is a police officer?
No.
Hello, talk about bias. Anyway, so message from Sarah. I'll read that afterwards. If I can read it to you guys, we'll see. So we had 4 different positions at lunch. We had the judge, we had OPB was there with their attorneys, and OPB is saying that they want the story to be presented, but they do not want any of the things that they edited out that allowed them to build the story. They don't want any of those things to be used because those are protected as the free press. They also didn't want to have to take the stand. So they're saying take the story that was posted to the internet, but you don't get any of our editorial notes, you don't get any of the behind the scenes work, you only get the story. Then you have the prosecution. The prosecution is saying we want OPB's story to be presented to incriminate the rest of the group as co-conspirators with Ryan Bundy. The government is saying we don't care if OPB testifies or not, because they believe that the entire interview was conclusive in and of itself and says everything they want it to say and involves the whole story and should be presented just as it is, whether OPB testifies that it was all inclusive or not. Then you have the defense. The defense is saying if you're going to allow this information to be admissible into court, then we want the reporter to take the stand. The reason we want him to take the stand is because as soon as, part of the statements at the beginning of OPB's story, they talk about this armed takeover by militants. There are things that they state that are outside of facts. There is no information as to where they got these facts. Did Ryan Bundy say they're armed militants taking over a facility? We don't know, because they're not giving the court any of the editorial process. They're only giving them the final story. So the defense is saying that there is a lot in this story that is not factual, that didn't come from Ryan Bundy's mouth, but came from the opinion of the author. Sorry, that did come from only the opinion of the author. The defense said that if he is subpoenaed and has to testify, that they will be able to discredit him and the statements he made about the group, because my phone is blowing up. Because this journalist tweeted, yes, your tweets can get you in trouble, so be careful how much of a tweeter you are. He tweeted things like, my notes are not anywhere as organized as Becky's. He tweeted things like, these people are thugs, these people are terrorists, and I am disappointed in the verdict. So the fact that they're allowing a reporter's story in as evidence, and the story contains opinions, is what is so concerning to the defense. So you had those four positions. At the end of the judge listening to all of this, she continued making statements that was making Jason Patrick crazy, rightfully so. Statements like that she wanted to make sure, if she made the reporter take the stand, that he wasn't being forced to share anything that was outside of his privileges as a reporter, his privileges and his rights as a reporter. The reason is, if reporters have to turn over everything in their editorial process and take the stand, one, it will make reporters not want to go into certain situations, and two, it'll make people involved in those situations not want to talk to the reporters. So they kind of want this rightful protection for the press, so that the press will be interested in getting the story out, and they won't be worried about incriminating themselves or having to incriminate the people that are talking to them in the future. That their job is just to get the story out as seen by the person they're reporting on. But this reporter has a bias, so there's all this stuff he included in what the government wants to present that's opinion, and it's not just opinion, it's biased opinion against the defendants. Okay, so the judge is talking about how she wants to protect their rights, and I'm so happy that she wants to protect the rights of the press, because it's a constitutionally protected right in the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. But there's other things in that amendment as well, like the right to free speech, and we don't have free speech, and the right to peaceably assemble and to present our government with a redress of grievance. In the last trial, the prosecution actually said a redress of grievance isn't even a legal document. So again, I'm really hung up on this word hypocrisy. The fact that the judge can sit there and say, I want to make sure that their First Amendment rights are protected as the press, but then we spent 90% of the day looking at guns and bullets as if weapons are what's on trial here in America, where people have the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. So you just end up constantly wondering, why do they even talk about the Constitution when it's really ultimately the Supreme Court that decides what we have the right to and what we don't have the right to. And right now the Supreme Court has continued ruling in favor of the press, but not in favor of our Second Amendment. So it's not really about a constitutionally protected right. It's about basically what does the King federal government say that we can or can't do. So in the end, the judge ruled that it would be going against the privileges and the rights of the press to make this editor or author or reporter, I don't even know what you want to call him, reporter, take the stand. So that was a really big blow to the defense, because she didn't throw out the evidence of Ryan Bundy's story. So she's protecting the rights of the reporter, but not the rights of the other defendants. So Ryan Bundy was found not guilty. Now he is going to have to make the decision if he will come back and testify on behalf of the defense to explain how biased the story was and to explain anything that maybe we're missing that isn't in this story. So he's going to have to give up his Fifth Amendment right to not speak and incriminate himself further, because he is still facing charges with the camera issue, although they haven't done anything about that. But the government even said, we didn't anticipate Ryan Bundy would come, and we anticipate that he will plead the Fifth, you know, the constitutionally protected right. Anyway, we assumed he would plead the Fifth because he still has charges that he's facing in Oregon, and he's currently facing charges in Nevada. The judge said that will be up to Ryan Bundy, that she's not going to say yes or no on the evidence with the interview. She called him co-conspirator 20 times. She said, I do see that this evidence is admissible because he is a co-conspirator in the charges, and that's really ridiculous because he's not a co-conspirator. He was proven not guilty of conspiring to impede federal officers from doing their job. So why would we be taking a statement from Ryan Bundy and trying to, I mean, can you imagine this? If Ryan Bundy was found not guilty, and say his statements about what they were doing at the refuge get used against these guys, and say they end up being found guilty, they will have taken words from somebody who was seen as a leader at the refuge, who was acquitted or found not guilty of all charges, and used his words to find other people guilty of the charges that he wasn't even guilty. I mean, the whole thing is ridiculous. If she was going to protect the press and say they didn't have to take the stand and they didn't have to provide the backstory to the guy's story, and explain where he came up with these details that he was providing the public, you know, because they were lies, they were biased lies, and she's not going to make him explain where those came from, then she should also be throwing out all of the evidence and not making the defense spend time scrambling now trying to figure out if Ryan will come and testify on their behalf or not. So I think that's it. It felt much more intense when we were in there to listen to all the parties and to sit in the room and watch the prosecution, the defense, and then the attorney with OPB, and then the judge, all trying to figure out what they were going to do. And for those of us who have watched Judge Anna Brown all year, we knew what she was going to do. She was going to protect the rights of the press, and she was also going to continue favoring on the side of the government, and that's exactly what she did. To continue hearing all of this stuff about, hi Lisa, to continue hearing all this stuff about why she's going to protect the press and how it's their constitutionally protected right, it's a little bit nauseating when the Constitution is not truly being upheld in this courtroom. If it was, there would not have been one gun showed. They wouldn't be able to steal the weapons of other Americans. When the people left the refuge, they would have all taken their property, life, liberty, and property would have come with them. They would have been granted the right to petition their government for redress of grievance out at the refuge. If you're gonna protest the government, one of the best places to do it is probably at a public building that's being mismanaged or misrun or unconstitutionally owned by said government. To go protest the government like at your house, I don't know, it probably wouldn't be very impactful. So in all reality, they had a constitutionally protected right to go to the refuge, to be heard, and again, that was a last resort. They went, they met with the police, they met with the sheriff, they called out to the FBI, nobody would hear them, and they took, their last resort was to take the hard stand and take back the building that belonged to the people, that was stolen by the federal government unconstitutionally, and take their hard stand. And it was beautiful, and it's exactly what they should have done. And I know that's not what a lot of people think, but nonetheless, it was still what they should have done. So that's it. When we left the courtroom, Jason's first words were, "I'm so happy the rights of the press were upheld and the rights of the people were completely trampled on." And he was completely accurate in what we watched. There is no justice in these courts. You cannot have justice in these courts when you have, you have a federal judge ruling on a federal case regarding federal lands. They're all coming from the same master at the end of the day, and you're just not going to get justice. Somebody said yesterday, I think it was reporting that recording I was listening to of Gary Hunt. He was saying that justice is the absence of injustice. And it really made me think about the last trial. Justice was not served in the last trial, because in order for there to have been justice, you would have had the absence of injustice. Ammon Bundy, Ryan Bundy, and David Fry were denied a speedy trial, and they were denied bail. Wait, would they be considered denied a speedy trial? Was that denial of a speedy trial? I know this group, and I know Nevada.
Yes, it would.
What would a speedy trial be? Isn't it like 45 days or something? It's like a really quick one,
Yeah,
would be
that's why it's called speedy
trial. Okay. So, but the biggest thing for me is that they were denied the right to bail. So that's a constitutionally protected right that they were denied. So them being found not guilty is how it should have been, but it doesn't mean that there wasn't complete injustice the entire time that they were incarcerated. Everything from the times that they were all put in, although I do have faith in jurors, having faith in the jurors, Shar, doesn't mean that there's justice in the courtroom. It really doesn't. If there's justice in the courtroom, these people would be able to speak freely when they're on the stand. They wouldn't be able to be silenced. When they say, will you tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, they're not allowed to. They can't tell the whole truth. They can only tell the parts of the truth that fit the narrative of the government. So while I have faith in some of the jurors, we witnessed in the last trial that, you know, we had the ex-BLM agent on the stand, or in the jury group. So had juror 4 not called out juror 11, it would have been a hung jury, and we would have possibly been going back to court again. So, I mean, I have some faith in the jurors, but at the end of the day, the jurors are one piece of our due process. So I'm not going to say, oh good, the jurors did their part and they proved that, you know, these guys were not guilty of the alleged crimes. Because all along the way, for months and months and months, these people were being mistreated, held basically hostage in their own country because our government's afraid of them. Not because they're a threat to the public, they're a threat to the government. So we can't really say that they got due process. We can't really say that they had justice served. Justice served would mean at the end of that, there would have been the next trial. And that trial would have included every officer and FBI agent who was present at the ambush, who set them up. Who set them up in an illegal roadblock, who fired the vehicle at them. There would have been a whole trial that we would have been able to witness, and then we go, okay, we're getting into some steps here now of justice. There would have been some payment back, some restitution paid for wrongfully incarcerating them. Are they going to give any restitution to David Fry for denying him bail because they said he was a threat to himself? He was innocent, and he should have been released and granted bail. I mean, we have sex offenders and murderers walking the streets, and these men were not granted bail. So justice has not been served. None of the people who were leading the witnesses on the side of the prosecution and the government were held accountable. The prosecution sent FBI agents to go and question and intimidate Dwayne Schrock. Jury tampering or witness tampering, no justice there. So one piece of the puzzle was there was some justice, but in overall pieces here, or picture here, justice was not served. Justice was not served. In fact, I think Neil Wampler still hasn't even gotten his stuff back. Justice was not actually served. So I think they can testify, Laura, and they don't have to travel. But here's the thing that they said the last time around with Nevada. They wanted to indict the guys for Nevada while sitting in the Portland courtroom. And every one of them said, absolutely not. If you're going to make us go through 2 trials simultaneously, then you better believe you're going to cart our happy tucuses all the way to Nevada. You're going to have to deal with everything along the way. We're not going to make this easy on you for us to deny us our rights, because it was already totally wrong that they... Sorry, phone call. It was already totally wrong that they were trying to do that to them. So the guys were willing to say, you know, it's going to be hard on us, but it's also going to be hard on you. We're not going to make this any easier. So let's see. So they could totally do things over Skype, but they're not going to make this any easier on the government than they have to. Let's see. Are there any other? Yes, courtroom observers, Lindsay, are so important to hold these courts accountable. I'm not sure that it matters. at the end of the day in the big scheme of things, but I really do think it puts some pressure. Sorry, phone call. I think it does put some pressure on the judge and put some pressure on the prosecution, knowing that there's eyewitnesses. They still hold all the guns, so there's only so much that, you know, our little peons of presence can accomplish, but we're still gonna show up. There's still a lot of people coming, and so that's great. Let's see, is there anything else? Any other questions? Everybody looked great. Angie, Lisa. All right. Do you want to say anything, Jake? I'm going through to see if there's any.
Can't think of
Oh,
anything
come
off the top of my
on.
head.
Think of something. We did talk to a police officer at lunch. I gave him 2 constitutions. I shook his hand and I told him that to be a good police officer, it was really simple. He just needed to make sure he was protecting people's life, liberty, and property. And if he was doing that, he had nothing to worry about. He told me he would go home, he would look through the Constitution, and that he would ask himself that question, if he is able to actually do his job and protect people's life, liberty, and property. And then before he left out the door, I gave him a second one, and I asked him if he'd give it away to one of his friends. You know, I respect him as a person, but at this point, as if he thinks that he can, you know, if he thinks asset forfeiture is legal to steal somebody's possessions just because the law said so, you know, again, remember the little box of a job description. If we truly believe that the press had constitutionally protected rights today, then we believe that police officers have a job description. And when they take an oath to the Constitution, their first obligation is to uphold the rights of the people and life, liberty, and property. And so if they're not doing that, I just can't say that they're doing, you know, that they're doing their job. But anyway, let's see. Say something, Jake.
Well, I guess all I have to say is take a step back and look at where we are, and you got to decide for yourself. You're going to take a stand or not. I really got nothing more to say. I mean, I could go on, but it's simple.
Yep.
Truth and liberty and all that is real simple.
It's simple. It's not hard. We make this more complicated than it has to be, really. If every police officer you saw, you walked up to every day and gave him, you know, a constitution and said, hey, I thank you for taking on this public service position, but if you're at all using that weapon to intimidate and threaten people and rob them of due process, then I need to give you one of these little booklets you need to read. You need to understand what nation you're in and what our founding fathers fought for, and they did not fight so that the people could be overrun by rules and regulations. That's not a free country. And if you don't believe that, that's totally okay too. But you know, you can't hold on to what you say is your constitutionally protected rights if you're then going to forfeit everybody else's rights by supporting the very people who enforce the unconstitutional laws to us. So accountability is an easy thing, really. It's really not that hard. I mean, some people are gonna be more excited about it when they do it. Some people are gonna be super calm, but at the end of the day, the question should remain the same. Are you willing to hold your public officials accountable? You know, everybody wants to hold everyone wants to hold the FBI agents accountable, and they really don't even have the same level of authority to the people as the police and the sheriffs. So I think we're running from maybe some of the areas we really should be going after. Maybe we feel it's just too hopeless of a cause, so we just sit on Facebook and complain, but that's not going to get us anywhere. You guys, you each have an obligation to stand up and make sure that people around us in office are doing their jobs. And if they're not, then be loving, but talk to them and let them know. Take some tours, get some friends together, and go to some police departments and ask them some hard questions about the Constitution, and see if you can get a few of them to unite with you and take a form of a stand. And maybe 1 or 2 areas that they'd say, you know, no, if I was told to uphold that law, I won't do it. I'll draw a line in the sand. You know, and I mean, how great would it be if whenever we're protesting, we had officers joining with us, you know, when they're off duty and standing and saying, no, I'm not going to comply with your ridiculous laws. I made an oath, and my character and my integrity is worth more than the paycheck that you're bribing me with, and the authority and the power that you're trying to pump me up with to make me mistreat these people in this country. So yeah, I don't think it has to be so difficult. It doesn't have to be a hate or love situation. It's just simple accountability. So blah. Okay, I think that's all. Is there anything else?
No.
Say bye to Lisa and Angie and
See ya.
Lindsay. All right.
Have a good one.
Bye, guys. We'll see you Monday. Blaine's on Monday, and it sounds like Ammon's on Tuesday. And Lisa, I got the message about the question with Ammon after we were already through traffic and a long ways away from the courthouse. So I'm sorry I didn't go back in and check, but I can go up there in the morning and see. So that's all. Love you guys. Bye. Take a stand.